So, what factors interfere with a healthy thyroid function? So we talked about HPA and HPT axis. So we're basically saying if you have a thyroid or adrenal problem, you have a brain problem. Okay? So this is just side by side showing you that the hypothalamus pituitary feed into the adrenals and feed into the thyroid. And the adrenals and the thyroid are related. Okay? So the HPA axis we'll say is the stress axis. So that's, you all heard cortisol, right? That's the stress hormone. So the more stressed you are, the more cortisol you're dumping into your bloodstream. And since it's a catabolic hormone, it's a breakdown hormone, you're breaking your body down. Okay? So, is that good or bad? So is cortisol good or bad?
Bad.
Trick you.
Depends.
Yes, it depends. So cortisol is necessary, right?
Right.
So depending on how we're using cortisol, it could be good or bad. So if you're down at the watering hole getting water back in the day and an alligator jumps out at you, cortisol dumps into your bloodstream. It downregulates digestion and immune system because you don't need to digest your lunch when you're running for your life. And you don't need a white blood cell to fight the alligator, right? So that blood is shunted out to your arms and legs. Energy is, sugar is liberated from the liver into the bloodstream and you're out of there. So that's an acute stressor. That's cortisol that just saved your life. All right? In that environment, that's proper. Today, what happens is the boss just drops a ton of papers on your desk. You dump cortisol into your bloodstream. You don't run anywhere. You sit in your chair, and that sugar is liberated into the bloodstream. And you have high blood sugar, nothing to do with it, so it goes to fat. You're depositing fat. You're not getting your exercise, and you're in a chronic state of stress. Okay.
So you're saying when the boss does that, if we like backhand him,
yeah, you'll feel better.
Release the cortisol.
Yes. So that chronic stress is unhealthy. That chronic cortisol is unhealthy. Make sense? Mm-hmm. So watch. To get to the cortisol, the hypothalamus tells the pituitary to release something called ACTH. ACTH tells the adrenals to make cortisol. Okay, cortisol gives us the stress response. But if you look at it, the more ACTH that the pituitary releases, and the more cortisol that we make, and adrenaline, right? Because we need adrenaline to run from the alligator. The more of those things we create, the more that we're getting an inhibitory signal to the thyroid. So ACTH from the pituitary is downregulating TSH. Okay? So if we downregulate TSH, we have less T4, T3, less thyroid hormone. That's hypothyroid, right? Also, the more cortisol we have, the cortisol inhibits T4 conversion to T3. All right, so that's hypothyroid. That's less thyroid hormone function. Cortisol also ramps up the conversion of T4 to RT3, or reverse T3. So it's downregulating the free hormone, and it's upregulating the reverse hormone that's going to be the blocker molecule on the receptor that's going to keep any T3 that you do have from binding. Right? So chronic stress plays a role in thyroid health. Make sense? So if you look right here, and what kind of stresses? Psychological stress. All right, so you go to your doctor and you tell him, you know, he just blew you off because he said, oh, it's psychological, you got a tough job and a little kid. But really what he found was potentially he may have found a cause, but because his paradigm's off, he's just, you know, get out of here. Here's an antidepressant or some Xanax. You're fine. Traumatic. So obviously, you know, car accident, whiplash, traumatic or physical stress. We all get that. How about electromagnetic? How many of you use your cell phone as an alarm clock? Right? Or just have an alarm clock that you plug in.
Oh yeah.
Digital. Okay, that's electromagnetic stress right there. Thyroid problem is a what problem? Electromagnetic waves impact your brain. We have electromagnetic waves, right? So all this technology, it allows us to do nifty things with the PowerPoint, but when you're sleeping, my phone's off and in the kitchen. I used to have a digital alarm clock. That's unplugged. Okay? Watches. Okay?
Is that alarm?
Yeah. So you want to remove technology when you're sleeping. And
what do you do about the big screen on the wall?
I don't have one of those in my room.
I do.
No.
Turn it off?
Turn it off, yeah.
Just turn it off?
Yeah, just have it off. And unplug it. Infections are stressful, right? That's going to stress the immune system and divert its attention from, protection, health, and repair. Allergies are stressful. Dysbiosis, so gut health, is a stressor. Okay, and we'll dig into that in a little while, but just buy it from me right now. All right, and xenobiotics are stressful. So xenobiotics are our environmental toxins. That's our plastics. That's our cigarette smoke. That's our smokestacks. That's our exhaust. That's flame retardants, BP oil, all kinds of stuff. All of those things inhibit or drive up the HPA axis, drive up the cortisol, and inhibit thyroid.